In the quiet coastal town of Millbrook, Emily Thompson stared out the window of her small apartment, watching raindrops race down the glass. At 28, her life looked nothing like she had imagined. The bookshelves around her were filled, with dreams that seemed to be slowly fading away. Just months ago, Emily had been a dedicated librarian, loved by the children who visited her reading corner and respected by her colleagues. Her world had been neat and predictable, rows of books, quiet conversations, and the comfort of routine. But everything changed when the local library faced budget cuts. In a single devastating morning, she found herself jobless, her carefully planned life crumbling like a fragile sandcastle. The real challenge, however, was her father, George. Once a vibrant high school history teacher, he now struggled with the early stages of dementia. Medical bills were mounting, and Emily's savings were quickly disappearing. Each day felt like a battle against an invisible enemy that was slowly taking her father away from her. Mornings were the hardest. Emily would help her father dress, guiding his trembling hands as he struggled with buttons. Some days he remembered her name. Other days he looked at her with confusion in his tired eyes. The man who had once told the most incredible historical stories, who could recite entire Shakespeare sonnets from memory, was now struggling to remember what he had for breakfast. Her small savings were dwindling. Rent, medical expenses, and daily necessities created a mountain of financial pressure that seemed impossible to climb. Emily took odd jobs, cleaning houses, dog walking, online tutoring, anything to keep them afloat. She would often work late, into the night, her laptop glowing softly while her father slept in the next room. The local community wasn't particularly helpful. Small towns could be kind, but they could also be judgmental. Emily overheard whispers at the local grocery store. Talks about how she was struggling, how her father was becoming a burden. These words stung, but she refused to let them break her spirit. Every morning, Emily would walk along the beach near their apartment. The rhythmic sound of waves became her meditation, her moment of peace. She would watch the tide, sometimes calm, sometimes wild, and find a strange comfort in its consistency. The ocean seemed to understand her struggle, rising and falling with a determination that mirrored her own. Her friends had gradually disappeared. Some moved away, others found their own lives too complicated to maintain contact. Social media showed glimpses of their successful careers, happy relationships, and perfect lives, a constant reminder of what Emily felt she was missing. But Emily was not one to give up easily. She had inherited her father's resilience and her mother's compassion. Every challenge was an opportunity, every setback a chance to learn. She began researching support groups, looking for ways to manage her father's condition more effectively. She read medical journals, connected with online communities, and slowly began to build a network of support. Her father, despite his condition, still had moments of remarkable clarity. Sometimes, in the middle of a confused conversation, he would suddenly smile and say something that showed the brilliant mind he once had. These moments were precious, small windows into the man he used to be. The apartment was small, but filled with memories. Photographs lined the walls. George in his teaching days, Emily as a young girl, family vacations, and moments of pure joy. Each picture told a story of love, of resilience, of a family that had always faced challenges together. As the rain continued outside, Emily made a cup of tea for herself and her father. She knew the road ahead would be difficult. Money was tight. Her father's condition was unpredictable, and her own future seemed uncertain, but something inside her refused to give up. She looked at her father, who was now dozing in his favorite armchair, and felt a surge of love and determination. This was not the end of her story. This was just the beginning of a new chapter. Challenging, unpredictable, but filled with hope. The rain continued to fall outside, a gentle reminder that even in the darkest moments life goes on. And Emily was ready to face whatever came next. The end. The community center stood like an old friend, welcoming and worn, its brick walls holding countless stories. Emily hesitated at the entrance, her hands clutching a worn notebook filled with job application drafts and medical notes. She had come here looking for part-time work, desperately hoping to find something that could help her support her father. Richard Matthews watched her from across the room. A retired teacher with kind eyes and silver hair. He had seen many young people walk through these doors, but something about Emily was different. Her determination was etched in the way she carried herself, weary but unbroken. "Can I help you?" Richard's voice was gentle, cutting through Emily's nervous thoughts. She explained her situation, her need for work, her father's condition, her struggle to make ends meet. Richard listened carefully, not with pity, but with genuine understanding. He had spent years teaching, and he recognized the strength that often hides behind vulnerability. To her surprise, Richard offered her a part-time position, helping with senior activities at the center. It wasn't much, but it was a lifeline. The job would involve organizing activities, helping with community programs, and supporting seniors who, like her father, needed compassionate care. The first week was challenging. Emily worked carefully, learning to balance her new responsibilities with her father's care. She discovered a group of seniors who became an unexpected source of support. They shared stories, spoke about their own struggles, and slowly began to see her as more than just a worker. She became part of their extended family. One particular afternoon changed everything. An elderly woman named Margaret, who rarely spoke to anyone, approached Emily during a crafting session. "My husband had dementia," she said quietly. "I understand what you're going through." Those simple words meant more than Margaret could have known. Emily felt a connection, an understanding that went beyond words. Margaret began sharing practical advice, showing Emily techniques for managing her father's condition, offering emotional support that no medical book could provide. Richard became more than just a supervisor. He was a mentor, a friend. He understood the delicate balance of caring for someone with dementia. He would often stay late, helping Emily develop strategies for communicating with her father, sharing stories from his years of teaching, and caring for his own mother. The support group. Richard introduced her to become her lifeline. Every week she met people facing similar challenges. Mothers, sons, daughters, all struggling with the complex journey of caring for loved ones with memory loss. They shared tears, laughter, and most importantly, hope. Emily began to see her situation differently. She wasn't alone. Her struggles, while personal, were part of a larger human experience of love, loss, and resilience. The community center became more than just a workplace. It became a source of strength. Her father started attending some of the center's senior programs. Initially hesitant, he slowly began to engage. Richard and the other volunteers were patient, understanding. They created an environment where George could feel valued, where his moments of confusion were met with kindness, not frustration. Financial pressures hadn't disappeared, but Emily felt something shifting. She was learning, growing, finding strength she didn't know she possessed. The random acts of kindness, a home-cooked meal from Margaret, Richard's patient guidance, the supportive smiles from other caregivers, these were becoming her new currency of hope. At home, her relationship with her father was changing. She was learning new ways to communicate, to connect. Some days were still difficult, but now they were balanced with moments of unexpected joy, a shared laugh, a sudden memory, a moment of pure connection. As the weeks passed, Emily realized that community wasn't just about proximity. It was about understanding, about holding space for each other's pain and joy. The lonely path she had been walking was slowly transforming into a shared journey. The sun was setting as Emily walked home from the center, her father's hand gently held in hers. Richard's words echoed in her mind. "We're stronger together." And, for the first time in months, she truly believed it. The end. The application form sat on Emily's kitchen table like a challenge, a government grant for caregivers, something that could change everything. But filling out the form felt like opening her entire life to strangers, exposing her vulnerabilities. Richard had encouraged her. "Your story matters," he'd said. "Don't be afraid to share it." Late one night, with her father sleeping in the next room, Emily began writing. Her hands trembled slightly as she described their journey. Each word was a piece of her heart. The struggles, the love, the daily battles against dementia. She wrote about the day her father forgot her name, how he looked at her with confusion in his eyes. A man who once knew every detail of her childhood now struggling to recognize his own daughter. She described the financial strain, the emotional roller coaster, the moments of pure despair and unexpected joy. The community center became her unexpected support system. Margaret, the elderly woman who had shared her own caregiving story, helped Emily review the application. Richard offered guidance, helping her articulate their challenges with clarity and hope. Emily discovered a strength she never knew she possessed. Each paragraph became an act of courage. She wasn't just filling out a form. She was telling a story of resilience, of love that transcends memory loss. At the center, she started a small support group for young caregivers. People began to gather, sons, daughters, partners, all struggling with similar challenges. They shared stories, cried together, laughed together. Emily realized her personal struggle could become a source of hope for others. Her father, George, had good days and bad days. Sometimes he would suddenly recall a story from his teaching days, his eyes bright with memory. Other times he would sit silently, lost in a world Emily couldn't understand. The grant application became more than just a financial lifeline. It was a testament to their journey. Emily poured her heart into every word, explaining how caring for her father had transformed her understanding of love, patience, and human connection. Weeks passed. The waiting felt endless. Emily continued working at the community center, supporting other caregivers, learning and growing. Richard watched her with quiet pride, seeing how she was turning her personal challenge into a mission of support. The day the letter arrived, Emily's hands shook. She opened it slowly, her father sitting beside her, unaware of the potential life-changing moment. Her breath caught in her throat as she read the words, "Grant approved." It wasn't just about the money. It was validation, a recognition that her struggle mattered, that her love for her father was valuable. The grant would help with medical expenses, provide additional support, and give her breathing room. But the real victory was something deeper. Emily had found her voice. She had learned to advocate not just for herself, but for others facing similar challenges. The support group at the community center grew. People began to share resources, support each other, create a network of understanding. Her father watched her with moments of clarity. Though his memory was fading, his love remained constant. Emily saw the pride in his eyes, the same pride he used to show when she won school competitions or achieved her first professional success. The grant was more than financial support. It was a bridge, connecting her personal struggle with a broader community of caregivers. Emily realized she was part of something bigger than herself. As the sun set that evening, Emily sat with her father, holding his hand. The kitchen was warm, filled with the soft light of hope. George might not remember every detail, but he knew love. And in that moment, love was enough. Her journey was just beginning. The barriers were breaking, not just for her, but for every caregiver who felt alone, who struggled in silence. Emily smiled. They would face this together. The end. The morning light crept through the kitchen window, casting a soft glow on Emily's tired but determined face. The grant had changed everything, but not in the way she had expected. It wasn't just about money. It was about transformation. With the financial support, Emily could now focus on her father's care more effectively. She discovered specialized programs, found better medical support, and began to understand the complex world of dementia care. Each day brought new challenges, but also new moments of connection. Richard from the community center became her greatest ally. He helped her develop a support group that quickly grew beyond their small coastal town. People from nearby cities began to join, young caregivers, seniors, medical professionals, all united by a common thread of understanding and hope. George, her father, had good days and challenging days. Some mornings he would wake up confused, unable to recognize the room around him. Other times he would surprise Emily with moments of crystal-clear memory, sharing stories from his teaching days that made her laugh and cry. The support group became Emily's lifeline. She learned techniques for communication, ways to connect with her father beyond words. Margaret, the elderly woman who had first reached out to her, became a mentor. She taught Emily how to find joy in small moments, how to communicate through touch, music, and patience. Emily's world expanded. She began taking online courses in specialized care, learning more about dementia, and how to support families going through similar experiences. The grant allowed her to attend workshops, to connect with experts, to transform her personal challenge into a mission of support. At the community center, she started developing programs specifically designed for families dealing with memory loss. Richard watched with pride as Emily transformed from a struggling caregiver to a beacon of hope for others. Her workshops became popular, drawing people from across the region. One particular afternoon changed everything. During a group session, Emily shared her father's story. The challenges, the moments of connection, the love that remained constant despite memory loss. The room was silent, filled with understanding and shared emotion. A local news reporter happened to be in the audience. Touched by Emily's story, she wrote a compelling piece about caregivers' challenges. Suddenly, Emily found herself at the center of a conversation about support, love, and resilience. The grant money became a tool for broader change. Emily used part of it to create a small scholarship fund for young caregivers, helping them access resources and support. She understood now that her journey was about more than just her father. It was about creating a community of support. George's condition continued to change. Some days were difficult, filled with confusion and frustration. But Emily had learned to find beauty in these moments. She discovered ways to communicate beyond words, through music, through touch, through unconditional love. Her support group became a family. They shared resources, supported each other, celebrated small victories. Emily realized that caregiving wasn't about perfection, it was about love, patience, and understanding. The community began to see her differently. No longer just a struggling daughter, she was now a leader, an advocate, a source of hope for others facing similar challenges. Richard watched her transformation with quiet pride, remembering the nervous young woman who had first walked into the community center. As summer turned to autumn, Emily reflected on their journey. The financial struggles hadn't disappeared completely, but they seemed manageable now. More importantly, she had found purpose. Her father's challenge had become her calling. One evening, as the sun set over the coastal town, George looked at Emily with a moment of perfect clarity. "I'm proud of you," he said, his voice weak but filled with love. Those simple words made everything worthwhile. Emily understood now that life wasn't about avoiding challenges. It was about finding meaning in them, about transforming pain into purpose, about love that transcends understanding. Their journey continued, filled with hope, love, and unexpected joy. The end. The university classroom buzzed with anticipation. Emily stood at the front, her hands slightly trembling but her voice steady. She was no longer just a caregiver, she was becoming a specialized care coordinator, turning her personal journey into a professional mission. Her father, George, sat in the front row, supported by Richard. Though his memory continued to fade, his pride was unmistakable. The same man who once struggled to recognize her now watched her chase her dreams with unwavering love. The path hadn't been easy. Studying while caring for her father, balancing online classes with community work, had pushed her to her limits. But Emily had discovered a strength she never knew existed. Each challenge became a stepping stone, each difficulty a lesson in resilience. Her support group had become her backbone. Margaret, the elderly woman who first reached out to her, helped her study. Richard provided guidance, connecting her with professionals in the field of elder care. The community that had once felt like strangers was now her extended family. The university program was challenging. Emily learned about advanced care techniques, communication strategies, and the complex world of dementia support. Her personal experience became her greatest asset. Where textbooks provided theory, her life had provided raw, emotional understanding. Her final project was a comprehensive support program for families dealing with memory loss. It combined practical resources, emotional support, and innovative communication techniques. The university professors were impressed. This wasn't just an academic project, it was a lifeline for countless families. The local hospital took notice. They offered Emily a position coordinating care support programs, recognizing her unique blend of personal experience and professional training. It was more than a job. It was a calling. George's condition continued to change. Some days were difficult, filled with confusion, but Emily had learned to find beauty in these moments. She understood now that love wasn't about perfect memories, but about connection beyond words. Her support group grew. What started in a small community center now reached families across the region. Emily developed workshops, created online resources, and became a voice for caregivers who often felt invisible. The local newspaper ran a feature about her journey. From struggle to support, one daughter's mission, the headline read. Emily's story inspired others, showing that personal challenges could become powerful sources of change. Richard watched her with quiet pride. The nervous young woman who had first walked into the community center had transformed into a professional, a leader, a beacon of hope. He saw in her the best qualities of a true caregiver: compassion, strength, and unconditional love. Her father's moments of clarity became precious gifts. Sometimes he would squeeze her hand, look into her eyes, and say, "I'm proud of you." Those moments made everything worthwhile. The community rallied around her. Local businesses sponsored her workshops, healthcare professionals sought her advice, families found hope in her story. Emily had become more than just a caregiver. She was a catalyst for change. Her life was no longer defined by struggle. It was defined by purpose, by love, by the incredible journey of transformation. She had taken her greatest challenge and turned it into her most significant achievement. As graduation day approached, Emily reflected on their journey. The financial pressures, the emotional challenges, the moments of pure despair, they had all led her here. To a place of understanding, of purpose, of hope. George sat in the front row during her graduation, his eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and pride. Emily knew he might not remember every detail, but he would remember love. And love, she had learned, was the most powerful memory of all. The coastal town that had once felt like a place of limitation now felt like a place of endless possibility. Emily had discovered that true strength wasn't about avoiding challenges, but about transforming them. Her journey was just beginning, and she was ready. The end.